Thursday, the 13th of April, and today we continue in the Old Testament, but we jump to the book of the prophet Ezekiel. And today, at that famous, wonderful passage of Ezekiel, chapter 37, verses 1 to 14. It's the story of the valley of the dry bones, and God commands Ezekiel to prophesy over those bones, a vast number of bones. You might think, well, it's a fallen army, but it symbolizes the whole nation of Israel, all the Jewish people. And God says to Ezekiel, prophesy over them that they come together and become living beings. And there's a sense in which you'd think, well, that's then a complete prophecy, and they will come to life and sort of continue with their normal living. But what's interesting is that the prophecy then becomes, in a sense, a two-step or two-part prophecy. So Ezekiel prophesies over them, and the bones join together, great clanking sound. Kind of think of how Walt Disney might put this into a movie. And clanking sound, and the tendons and the flesh form, and then the skins form. And there are these beings. They, in one sense, I would like to think they are living, but they're also not living. And I kind of draw the distinction that maybe it's like, the plants in the field are living. They certainly have their being because of God, but they're not blessed with the breath of God. Your cats and dogs, as special as they are living beings, but they do not have the breath of God, somehow a separate second step of creation. And so God then says to Ezekiel, now command my breath, my ruach, to go into them. And Ezekiel does that, and the breath of God goes into them, and they become fully human beings. And it says to me that you and I are special. We are, as we are told in the creation story of Adam and Eve, we are created in the image of God, and he breathes his breath into us, the pinnacle of his creation. We are so more than simply cats and dogs and cattle and buffalo and bison or whatever. We have the breath of God within us. We represent God. We are, in a sense, I suppose, as Christians, little gods. I would interpret the word Christ, Christian, as being the diminutive of that, but that doesn't make us gods as if we are already gods. That's the potential that we can realize at some point in the future. But again, as I've been picking up this week, the commandments of God always have this wonderful promise that we can look forward to. God, not a benevolent person who will simply give it to us even if we don't deserve it, but when we deserve it, which is to follow God and obey God to the best of our abilities, to acknowledge him. As Christians now, we acknowledge him with the word of Christ on our lips, confessing our sin and claiming the forgiveness that Christ offers us. Then we get that second creation, the breath of God, the Spirit coming to live within us. And so it says to me that creation is a two-step process, that when God answers our prayer and restores it is a process. It doesn't all happen instantly. It is a process, and we need to allow time, because I think process is just synonymous with a passage, and a slightly longer passage of time that might come if God simply created something, but we are created in his image. And so when God answers your prayers, understand that there will be always a time, because there's a process that is being undertaken by God to restore you and the surroundings around you. And all of this is the answer God gives to us in our prayers. So let us maintain and retain our faith. Let us continue to cry out to God, as we read yesterday from Micah. Cry out to God in faith, and just knowing God will never forget us, and he will always answer us. And time is somehow quite different for us and for God, but God's timing is always perfect and in our best interest. Folks, have a good day. We'll chat again tomorrow. God bless.